Hello, everybody. This is the Victim Factory with Women Matters, our monthly conversation group with 5 beautiful and knowledgeable women. And we together, we try to create something new in the world, or maybe it's not so new, but at least help the energies into the positive direction. And actually today we had announced an online workshop led by Bettina Hartman, but things went in a way that we are not yet ready to do that and be the receivers of the online workshop. So today we will go ahead in preparing it, talking about the topic and what we need to be and to do what we want to do. So we will reschedule it another time, and stay tuned if you're interested to participate at this workshop. I'm really sure it will be great, because once I have done the process, or even twice, and it was amazing. I give over to you, Bettina, so you can give us some more introduction to what we wanted to do and what we will do instead.
Great. Yes. I think it's about a month ago we had our last online, not the one with Tammy, but the one where we generated this idea. And it was like we were just free-flowing our conversation, and I don't even really remember the topic, but it was something about how can we support manifestation in the world, or how can we support our energies, or something like that. I don't remember anymore. So along that conversation, I think it was Luna who talked about flocking, and suddenly we came up with this new concept of conscious human flocking. And it was like a light bulb went on inside of me. And so we sort of agreed that we wanted to explore that more. And one of my sort of, how to say, talents, but also weak sides, they usually go together, is that I can see a lot of potential. So immediately, with all my process consultant experience and project manager, I saw just how we could do this. I saw the whole path in front of us, and I was so excited. So I really wanted to sort of put my talent into good use. So I suggested we use a process which is really good at converting an idea into a manifest solution, and it's called Theory U. And you just said yes without knowing what you said yes to. And so we just went ahead, and the plan was inside Bettina's head, and we hadn't really talked about what it was or how much time to spend or anything. And then Heidi suggested we come together in the Slack channel to prepare, because I said we need to do some preparation before we enter into this process. And it turned out that didn't work out so well for different reasons. So I think what I would be interested to do today is both to sort of talk about what were you excited about regarding conscious human flocking, and are you still excited? And is this at all something we still want to spend time on? And if yes, why are we excited? What is our individual motivation? What can we offer of talents? And is it, by the end of the hour, is it at all the Theory U process we want to do, or maybe it's something completely different? So I think for me it's important to stay in communication and to explore, also when things don't turn out the way we thought. So I'm just happy we are here, and I'm still super excited about it. So I hope that you are too, but no pressure. So let's see what happens. And yeah, so I think maybe we should take sort of a short 1-minute check-in for each person, and to sort of say where are we now, and yeah, and then proceed from there maybe. Over and out.
As nobody jumps in, I will do that. First of all, I'm very glad that we are in communication after all, and that we did that the both girls in California stood up early to be with us. So check in. It's almost evening here, and I have a group of many people in Paradiso Integrale, which is in our house where we have seminars and guests can come. Officially is a meeting room in Google Maps. And I have to cook, and I'm delighted in cooking, inventing things. I think in this way I'm quite creative. But I'm also tired and a little bit in tension because it's occupying quite a lot of my mental sphere.
Mine too.
Mark says his too. Okay. That's me.
I'll jump in. Thank you so much, Bettina, for putting all the work that you put in there. It was, for me, a little overwhelming to take in. And I think that it points to some of the challenges in widening the pipe in the mental space in terms of what it is to co-intentionalize and to come together. So so I noticed my own perhaps weaknesses. Really excited about this work. So I deeply apologize for not having the time to really dive in the way that would have made this work for today. And I definitely see the potential and the importance of doing this work specifically in terms of yeah, how do we move together as one and get enough points of reference that we can move together without and look at those places where it's difficult or there's barriers or those sorts of things. So in a way, I think that our experience over the last bit is really quite rich for us to be able to already see some of where any person might be challenged in terms of really coming together, and that unification of our intention, it does have barriers. And so I'm really wanting to be curious and honest with those things, because those are hard things to talk about actually, and with a goal and aim to look at what are the in the moment ways to be able to flag it and be able to respond. Yeah, I'm excited about this process and really, really grateful for your work and for everyone's work and presence.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Lunia, and you don't have a name tag, so tell us
I
who
don't.
you are.
Yes, I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Luna Ciavelli of One Daily Wellness, and I will figure out how to get a name tag for the next time we meet. First step is showing up in the cyberspace and then getting all the bells and whistles, I suppose. Yeah, I'm also really grateful to be here. And I echo Tammy's sentiments. Bettina, when you first sent the information, I was so thrilled that you had this wonderful framework for us to work with. And it's really been a matter of the timing for me, dealing with some really big life pieces at the moment. And I'm even coming today from maybe about some intermittent sleeping through the night, but I'm just there's so much work that I'm getting done right now, and the time is so limited, it's felt. So There's something really interesting about us meeting in real time and actually doing the preparation together. And it's interesting because after meeting here today, I'm also going to prepare with another teacher. We're about to be starting a course, a training course. And it's the same for her and I. So we're actually getting together to pre-process together, because neither of us has been able to schedule it into our own work schedule. So so it's kind of feels like the theme of the day. And I like that that we make these processes transparent as well, that other people can participate by viewing the process. So yeah, I also want to say how grateful I am to be here. And it's really nice just feeling myself drop into the space with all of you today and seeing your faces and getting into the presencing. And yeah, I also just want to thank you again, Bettina, for the work that you did put forward. And yeah, feeling like I really want to respect and honor that and give it its due diligence, which I just haven't had the time for. So excited to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, hi. It's great to see you again. And actually, I was not aware that we go live. So I was not, whatever, you have to take me like that. And I just have to acknowledge this so I can get rid of these thoughts. And I was really thrilled, but it was another time thing, because now our book is in the finalization, and we just did the last corrections, and it will come out in June. Or we don't have the exact date yet, but the editor said, okay, June is a set thing. And so we just, the very last corrections for the cover, for anything, and then say, oh, I forgot, you know. And I'm on the brink of leaving for a 4-day an open space, so to say, human flocking party with 100 people, just in free flow, who is doing the errands, who is cooking, who is cleaning up, whatever. So we'll see, and that's a real, so I'm really, really looking forward, since it starts with my birthday tomorrow. So I'm just, you know, this hard work, and now a very pleasant thing in front of me and in between you. So good to see you.
Good to see you, all of you. Maybe I should just take a 1-minute check-in as well. I'm so happy to see you. And I just sense that we are somehow drawn to each other. We really want to spend time together. And I think this is part of the new world transformation processes, that we also have to honor what emerges, and to spend time on what we feel called to do, even though we don't know why, and we don't know what it is. Heidi and I talked a little bit about it before we went online. So it's like we are giving birth to something. We don't know what it is, and we don't know when it's going to happen, and we are in birth pains for I don't know how long time, but we still feel called to participate and to meet, and I just think that's wonderful, and that gives me a lot of hope, and I think that's also something the feminine can offer, that we can keep meeting and be in relation, even though we don't really know why, that we trust the process and that something will emerge. I don't think that necessarily have to exclude using masculine values such as determination and stuff like that, but I also think that we need to honor the energy, and we all have different priorities. So we need to find out how much time we want to spend. And right now I'm in a position where I have a lot of time to spend. So I'm lucky. So I feel really good to be here, and I'm happy. And yeah, I think that's all for me right now.
Thank you. This is fine. And I'm really glad that you sort of summarized that, because I really do think this is part of the feminine process, that we don't know where it goes, that we can feel comfortable with not knowing, and even if we speak together and maybe nobody will listen, normally somebody does, but that's not the thing. I think we do that publicly so that people can get inspired and maybe do the same thing or join us or create their own group, because we want to give out this energy. You said hope, Bettina, of hope that we can do something in our little small space. We are not the president of America who can decide whatever he can decide, but we can do from down up, we can do something. And the more people do that, the better it is. And that's why I'm so keen on doing these things publicly, because, for instance, yesterday I was looking into my YouTube things, and 3 years ago, I did a conversation about Asajoli, and I was surprised there were 3,000 views. And when we did it, there were only maybe 10 or something people in the live room. So we never know. Even in 5 years, somebody comes and says, oh, maybe, and even if we never know about who it is and they never contact us, they never write a comment, who knows who we can inspire by doing this. This is the one thing why I'm so attracted to doing this. And the other thing is really to find out what can be possible. So let's see what we do.
I love that we are essentially practicing flocking already in the preparation for this and in the way that we're communicating this morning. I sort of feel the coming into resonance with one another, and then the sort of the dissonance in the preparation, but the desire to be in sync with the preparations. So I'm just observing and reflecting upon that. And love what you just shared, Heidi, as well, that, yeah, if one person is inspired, then wonderful. Yes.
Okay, I have a suggestion. I don't know what you think about it, but I thought it could be interesting to take another round where each of us explain what we think, what we feel and think that conscious human flocking is. Why is it interesting, and what is it? And just sort of a couple of minutes brainstorm from each person, because I'm pretty sure that it means different things to each of us, but there's also something that is the same. So it could be interesting to sort of get a feeling. We are talking about something, but what is it exactly we're talking about? So that's a suggestion, unless someone else have another suggestion.
Maybe I'll jump in with a human flocking experiment that it didn't work, but it's a recent one that I just initiated, and I'd love to just share it as an example to kind of ground it, this idea. So here in what's known as British Columbia, we've just had an election. And as we all know, our electoral process in pretty much any democratic country is less than perfect. And our election day was on May the 9th. And it came back like basically a hung verdict. Like, we're not sure 2 weeks later who is going to really run our province. And so I created a couple of videos, one that was serious and one that was me singing. which was wonderful. Just to kind of be silly and really, Luna helped me with this process, which I was so grateful for. And essentially it was calling out to people to make their own little video and ask for the British Columbia that they would like to see. Because there's a lot of issues happening in this little province. Resource extraction, as anywhere in Canada, is a big mandate. And of course, we need to transition to other ways of doing things. We have a huge pipeline that's going through this province, and without the consent of Indigenous peoples along the pipeline route. So there's a lot of issues to talk about, and given that we don't know who's actually going to govern our province, I thought this would be a powerful way. So the process that I kind of designed was make the videos, post them to Twitter, tag the leaders of the 3 parties, because the Green Party has the balance of power here. 3 MLAs were elected, which is quite a historical win here in this province, and they do hold that balance of power, and there is likely going to be a minority government. So today, the count starts for the absentee ballots. And so there was this 2-week period where there was an opportunity to have a conversation and to experience some human flocking in terms of saying the kind of governance that we would like to see, and talking about the issues that we want to talk about directly directed at the leaders who are making those decisions. And so after I posted it to Facebook. I made an email to a bunch of the different organizers that I know, and it didn't get any real response. I was hoping that there would be a response, especially from the political organizers that I know. And I just watched it, because again, I've got limited time. I'm trying to do many things all at the same time. And so it was enough for me to take it to completion, but it was an idea of planting a seed to have other people model and work with how we have a public conversation about how the power works in government. So that was my attempt, and I felt great that I went through all the parts and did it. And it's also interesting to note that it didn't have much pickup, and I'm okay with that. But I just wanted to drop down, like, we're up to is deeper in terms of intentionality, but that's kind of an exploration of what that can look like in maybe a non-spiritual sense.
So what you are talking about, Tammy, seems to me that we are flying, let's say, in the back row of the geese. We are somewhere behind while somebody else is getting all the views of the videos, which is okay. And sooner or later, we will go there too, and then we will go back again, and so on. And this is what I find fascinating on this topic, because I like geese, first of all, and I saw them only twice flying, and it's really great. And to imagine how they save the energy by collaborating is not the right word, but organizing their being together, no, and going ahead or going backward. I think it's a wonderful metaphor of what we could do, what would be a new way of being together and getting something done, let's say. That was my share, because the reason why I really like this idea, to explore that, how it can work in real life.
Great.
I think that's really interesting because we're talking about how powerful this behavior is. This behavior is very powerful, that we intrinsically already have. And if we are able to disseminate it a little bit and understand it and understand how it's working, then we can use it in a really positive way to connect and to accomplish goals. I'm just also reflecting, Tammy, on your share, in that this sort of the lack of awareness in regards to the election, and that most people sort of haven't realized that there's been this in-between space, and that part of the flocking is that there was an assumption of who won the election and who has power in the province. And that's a sort of flocking that happens very often, in the way that media is sort of doled out to us, and then there's an assumption or an expectation, and not a space for conversation amongst the people, and a space that is again available and live and transparent. So again, that's another reason why I feel really passionately about how important it is that we meet in this space together and have these conversations. Yeah. And thank you for your experiment, Tammy. And putting your voice out there.
Thank you for your help.
For me, there is, I think flocking happens, that people come together for a purpose, for something, even going back to our history, very horrific flocking, but this is like people are drawn to something without being conscious. So for me, conscious human flocking is the human flocking, I think, that happens. But if it's conscious or not, that's the difference. Because otherwise, if it's not conscious, I think then manipulators can just go when you see the rallies or so. This is like, there is some, I think there is a longing in people to flock, to tribe, or whatever you call it. And if there's somebody who is just offering that, then people tend not to be conscious and just follow. So I think for me, the conscious part is very, very, very important. And as Luna, as you said, of how it's working, not to manipulate, but to have that genuine human desire to co-create, collaborate, and have that in a way that everybody is a leader or follower. I mean, with the geese, you could be in the back or you could be in the front, and it's not like the one is better than the other. It's just at this specific moment you have another, you were not the initiator, you were not the leader, but in another circumstance with another wind, it could be different. So I shared this exercise with saying the color. So two people, one has the lead saying a color, and the other one is the follower, trying to get as close to the color, or just repeating the color. And when you do it for some time, all of a sudden, sometimes the one who should be following is going ahead, knowing what the other one would say, or they both say it simultaneously. So where is it? Who is actually leading? And if you tap into that space in which that shared purpose, saying the right color, or the purpose bigger than that, when that is shared, then I think you don't have to lead or direct somebody. And then this whole thing unfolds and in waves and back and forth. And yeah, so. And for me, to say that again, the conscious part is the most important. Yeah. For now.
Thank you. It's so lovely to hear you talk, all of you. And all my neurons are firing up and a lot of things are going on. It's almost difficult to talk because there are so many things I would like to say. First of all, what strikes me is that I'm beginning to see, because in a way I think we're talking about the same. But in a way, I also think it's starting to become clear for me that we are speaking from different perspectives, which is awesome, because this means that there are different perspectives that we are really good at taking. And I think this is what human flocking for me, why is it's important? It's to bring people like us. When we come together, as you say, Gertrud, human flocking happens. It's we want to come together. We want to manifest things. We're not always very good at it. So I think for me, if we could harvest how this is done in a conscious, intelligent way, we could be more efficient in our collaborations, and we could, as you said, Tammy, flag when something is not working, and so we could get a much more conscious communication, so that we don't fall into all the old same pitfalls that we always do normally when we collaborate about things. There's so many false starts and problems and things that are going in the wrong direction and stuff like that. So what I see here is that, for example, Tammy, you spoke, it's my words, so forgive me, but I'm sort of interpreting what you said. But what I heard was that you felt called to do something. So you dived in and made this video and posted it, and you felt this sense of, I honored my calling, I fulfilled it. And even though nobody listened right now, or at least they didn't tell me, I feel complete somehow because I honored my calling. And I think that's a very important part of it. And then you said, Heidi, about getting something done. That was what I heard, that this part of coming together and collaborating effectively, and then we get something done. We actually get a result that we are all proud of, and we all sort of back up. And you said, Luna, about if we can find out how the processes, sort of look at how do the geese do it, and can we adapt that? So you had the vision of the process, and can we sort of adapt some of their characteristics and learn from that? And you also said the result for you to have this community space that is alive and passionate. So we come together in a very organic and living and loving way somehow. That was what I heard. And then you say, Gertrude, about the longing to flock, and if we can be conscious about it. And I just feel that this already exemplifies why I am so fired up about this concept, because I think whether we are conscious about it or not, we all have different perspectives. And I think if we can harness that and bring it to the table in a sort of conscious way, and realize this is how I see it, and the others might not see this, but this is actually my specialty that I can bring to the table. And if we can sort of be curious about that whole plate of different dishes, and harness the talents, and not be afraid when someone is different, and not collide when suddenly we change direction, but we can sense into, oh, this is where we are right now, so I'll correct. So we constantly sense and correct, but we still have an overall purpose. We are not flocking a downward spiral into hell or wherever we are going. We're actually going somewhere that is worthwhile going. So for me, to sort of find out how to do that in a way where we can be efficient, and when we can't be efficient, we can talk about it and make it visible, and sort of so we can continue the stream towards something that is worthwhile. I think that's why I'm so fired up about this concept, because it's something I feel it's a competence I think we don't have today in our cultures. We have all the pieces, but we don't know how to bring them together, because it takes both masculine competences and feminine and rational and intuitive and all kinds of different competences. So, and Gertrude writes gung-ho, and I have no idea what that means.
I just think of a book that's called Gung-ho. This is about a woman coming into a company and wanting to this was to be closed, and she should save it, but then she found out that was not, but other people didn't want to burn themselves, so she went there, and there was only one department that was going well, but the others didn't like that guy. and it was a mess whatsoever. And then she went out and sat on a bench, and there was this Indian guy. And she told him her problems, and this Indian guy told her that he was probably to be fired, and his grandfather told him something. So he learned management from his grandfather. He found that he was successful with his. And he was talking about the geese that they take over leadership, and they support each other with cries, with, the geese cry, like supporting, empowering each other, so they can really do that long flight. And he was talking about the beavers, that no beaver tells the other one how to do the stuff. And sometimes a beaver does something wrong, but the others don't spank him and say you have to put this log there, but they just work with it. Wherever that log is, then they put other stuff, so the whole thing holds tight. So they have a good what do you call, crosser or whatever the beaver thing is. And I don't know. And I think the last one was, or the first one was the squirrels, but I'm not sure. But these two, they just came up to my mind. How do they do that? They leave space for the others, but are so much in contact. I think in the paper you sent, Bettina, it's like, how do we find the right distance So we sense each other, but we don't interfere with each other. And then, so we are not, we don't even have to tell each other what to do, but we are close enough that we get what's the next good step or what to do right now. And I like that. Just came up this, it's a nice book. It's really nice, like how to save a company. And she didn't know who that was, but she was like listening to him. Yeah.
What I find so amazing with this idea or with these skills we are trying to develop, that we don't have to follow the old ways of being better than somebody, of being the leader, of I'm right and you are wrong. There is no competition. There is something of, it's not that you don't see what the others are doing, not at all, but you don't fight against it. So that was a wonderful example, what you said, Gertrude, that if somebody made an error, you build the dam around it and find a way to adjust it. That means that everybody needs to be in this mindset. But when you think in normal reality, have you ever seen that? Except I think last time I said in concerts, when you are really in synchronicity doing a concert, then it's the only way where I ever have experienced things in, let's say, in real life, except some guided process or what we are doing, but not out there in the world. So it's a big challenge for me. I mean, in my ideas, but I think it has the potential to really change all this power stuff, this power over stuff would be falling away, and we would have only power 4, because we need the power to fly there, to be in the front, or even on the back. We need to recover our power, no? But it's not this old power thing of, I get you down. That's me who have to decide. Yeah, it's great.
So I'd love to just talk a little bit about an idea that Luna had, and invite Luna to actually share it properly if she's open and able. But it's I think a part of what I read in the work you presented, Bettina, was around how we share what we actually bring to the table, and and I think I feel like that's kind of the stage where we're at, and it would be really powerful to be able to actually go deeper into those places, so we really know what we bring and where, and do that kind of skills mapping. But I love doing it in real time, in how it feels. So Luna, I wonder if you can maybe share a little bit about what you shared with me and what we kind of have been jamming on in terms of a process for that.
Okay. So hopefully there'll be no coffee grinding in the background. And I thank you, Tammy. I think you're speaking of the Venn diagram that I was sharing around. Yeah. So, and I also want to draw attention to what just happened there after Heidi, you were sharing about this idea of supporting one another. And I also want to recognize, Tammy, that you just supported me by recognizing something that I'd brought to the table in conversation, and then inviting me to share that. And that's a really beautiful modeling for how we can, and as we know more about one another and our strengths, we can be in the space of constantly inviting one another to the lead. And so it's this sort of group space where no one is left out, and everyone does have a unique strength that's brought to the group and is vital to it, even if it's very, very different. So thank you for that. Yeah. So I was sharing with Tammy about this, and now I really wish that I could give credit due in this moment, and I'm not remembering who created this model. So I will have to find that out and come back and make a note of it to everyone. But it's this idea of how do we intersect, and how do we find our passion point? How do we find that place where, which I'm feeling in this conversation, really loving, Bettina, the passion and excitement that you're sharing and talking about those neurons firing. And I feel like this is a new, potentially a new model that could be really of great service to so many people, and creating a new framework. So this Venn diagram that that I was sharing with Tammy is, let me just think here. So what we would do is we would each go through, go around to each of us, and we would hear about what we feel our superpower is. What's our real strength? What's really easy and effortless for us each to do, and we each have that. Something that just comes very, very naturally. And I'm just seeing a little note there, Heidi, thanks for that. Just the history of Venn diagrams. And I think that's also, thank you for reminding me of that. People may not know what a Venn diagram is who are listening. So Heidi just noted that Venn diagrams were introduced in 1880 by John Venn. Am I getting that correct? And it's a way that we can visually see how sect, and where the most items come together. I don't know if that, I hope that's making sense. Yeah, thank you, Tammy. Perfect. Yes. Wonderful. Yeah. So in this particular Venn diagram, we would each go around and share our strengths and superpowers. And then we'd also go around and share, we'd do a second round, and the second round would be sharing what we're really passionate about, what we're really called to, what really interests us. So that may be creating community, or finding ways that we can create together, or whatever, some of the things that were expressed here today already. So what we're naturally drawn to and we have a charge around and are excited about. So then that would create another list, and we would compile a list from the first category and then the second category. And then the third category would be, what are the biggest issues that we face today on this planet? And we would gather a list of those as well. And through the Venn diagramming, we'd be able to see where our unique strengths, our natural inclinations and interests, and the biggest issues facing us today intersect. And from seeing that together, we'd be able to know where to focus our energy and what types of projects might intersect. So that would be another intersection. Yeah, thank you, Heidi, for putting that up. That's great. Yes, so that's it in a nutshell. I felt a real charge when I saw this way of seeing, because I'm seeing the quickening in this time, and that so many of us are being called to action, and that we are looking for models in which we can take action. And so I'm also seeing the intersecting and the intersection of flocking with this type of model, and how we can flock globally as well using these sorts of frameworks. And that excites me a lot. Yeah.
Well, being an engineer, I've born and raised with Venn diagrams, so I love the idea. I still think we need to discuss how to do it, because I think if five people could do each their 3 circles, and then we could sort of combine them, or we could do it in all kinds of different processes, and this might feel heavy to some. So I think it's important also to discuss how we could do it in a way that people feel, because I hear, at least you, Luna and Tammy, that you prefer to do as much online as possible, where I think Heidi and I are very good at sort of working by ourselves and writing a lot of stuff, because that's maybe our processing. So I think it's important to find out, maybe we could do our own preparation before, and then we do an online thing or whatever. But I think how to do it is as important as to choose a method, is what I've learned from the last month. But I love the idea.
So how could it look like when we did it online, the preparation, maybe in 2 or so? Not the whole group? Or let us first ask you, Bettina, what sort of preparation do you have in your mind?
No, this was actually a question for the group, because I think it was Luna who had the idea, and Tammy who had been sort of fired up about it. So I think I would put it back to the group, and maybe specifically to Luna and Tammy, to hear how can we combine the method and the process method. Mm-hmm. It's 2 different methods, actually. Yeah.
2 different, the theory U and the Venn, or what do you mean by two different methods?
No, I mean the Venn is an analytical way of getting an overview of sort of information and to see where it intersects. But how to harvest it from 5 people is a method in itself. It's a process. And the Venn diagram doesn't tell you how to do that. So we have to invent that ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's different ways to do that. So that was what I meant. I didn't mean theory U.
So I see.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, for me, it's the first time I know of it. I'm not an engineer, natural scientist, but not engineering. So for me, I need some guidance if we would do that. And the theory U is more familiar with me. I'm not strong at it, but at least I know how it functions. So I had a short
no, I see the Venn diagram as a, sorry?
I could offer an appreciative inquiry process as well. So I'm very open to what wants to emerge. But for some things I need guidance, and the theory you are a lot more familiar with it. It's just that it's more familiar with me. But I'm very open to learn new things. So I'm not stuck with anything.
No, my suggestion is that theory U is something we push to the future, because we use that when we have agreed on an intention. So I think what we're doing right now is to find the intention, and that we can use the Venn diagram. So what we're doing now is the preparatory work, and the theory U comes later. That's how I see it.
I do see it a little differently. I feel like this is something that can just nest right in. It's like, in terms of what you're asking, in terms of process, what I was visualizing as Luna was sharing process, and then go through what it is our superpowers are. What was the second one, Luna? What our passions are that we're drawn to, and then the larger picture of the world and how we can insert and so there's I think an after process of looking at correlating, and that's the Venn part. But in terms of how it looks as a process, it would really just be us sharing what our superpowers are, what our gifts are, what our passions are, and then a vision of those places where interventions could be useful to actually insert some human flocking processes that could intervene. And so I see it as a nested process within the Theory U that can just be a sub project to really get clear on that piece that I was most in what you wrote, Bettina, knowing what we all bring to the table, where our passions are, and then a bit of a vision and understanding of the greater context of which we are a part. So I have a sense that perhaps Luna's process fits right in a beautiful way and allows us to kind of also do that flocking in terms of there are many systems and processes out there, and how do we actually flock with those, because we carry them. And I think that the language of calling it a Venn diagram is maybe a misnomer in terms of making it sound like it's something different. But for me, it isn't different. It's just a way to be able to nest our discoveries about who we are as a group into this process that we're all committed to, and about who we are, grounding and starting point.
Yeah, I think we are actually in the middle of the different perspectives parts that we need to be conscious of, because as a process consultant, you can't just say to me, then we just go around and ask what is our superpowers, and then the next round is that, because that's, for me, that's not specific enough. I need to know, is anybody taking notes? Are we supposed to merge the superpowers? Are they just supposed to be individual ones? What about the next round? How are you going to use this information that you give? I need to understand that process, because otherwise it will all be intuitive, and that's one way to do it. But my experience is that usually the energy will dissipate afterwards, because we have put all our hearts into honestly answering every question, and then nothing comes out of it because we hadn't agreed how we should process the information. So that's my masculine side saying, yes, we can do that, but I need to understand the process. What are you going to use it for? Because my experience is that it's a lovely experience, but nothing much comes out of it. And that's, yeah. So that's why I'm asking for how to do it. And I don't know if that makes sense, but.
Yeah, if I may speak to what both of you just shared. So I love the idea of this being an organized process, and I love that you're bringing this that perspective, Bettina, because I do tend to be in the intuitive space, but then can tend to maybe even have frustration at why it doesn't go anywhere. So thank you for that. So as I was sharing this, one thought that I had is that this would be a really nice way for us to see where we intersect, and then use that intentionality towards the Theory U work and towards some flocking experiments. I'm happy to take notes if there's an openness to a round. But yes, I was imagining that one of us would take notes. We would gather the information for each category and compile all of them together in one diagram. And I am aware, but I'm not familiar with there being some applications for Venn diagrams. So I'm wondering also about perhaps even using an app where we enter in the three categories, and then can visually see together, perhaps post it on one of the, I think is it Slack, the Slack site, or somewhere like that. I don't know how to use that one yet, but somewhere where we can all see it. And it's a visual representation of where we do intersect. So that's, yeah, those are just some thoughts around that, organizing that and then moving forward. And I do want to say this is experimental because it hasn't, I know that this process is used for individuals, but what excited me was about learning how to use this process in a group, because I think that that can be really, really powerful. There's a lot of potential there. Yeah.
I'm seeing that we are at 6 o'clock today. So, I mean, our 6 o'clock, it's the hour. When we had planned the online workshop, we would have gone longer. And I think what it felt to me as it comes to a natural end, our conversation, the only thing which I really would like to still explore, how we would go on from here and how we can communicate so that we are in the same line, and how we do that. It's still a little bit, I would invite everybody to give a sort of statement what they would be willing to do and how they imagine how we can go ahead from that point. I think we did a lot of points bringing together, and it's really good. So now we need to get it into the concrete thing. Do I meet with Tammy or with Bettina alone next week and we discover something for us, or do we meet all together, or something like this, you know? That's what is your idea? And let that be our final round, and then decide via Slack, hopefully, if you do it, Luna, so we have it together, how exactly we will do that, okay? Shall I maybe begin? This is very intuitive, what I think, which comes out of my mouth just now. I think what Tammy says, to get clear about our gifts and about our passions and the vision we have, this could be a basic thing, and we could do that in a sort of dialogue with somebody, or even with three. We don't need to be all together for that, but it's good to say it to somebody and not just write about it, because in a dialogue the other person can ask questions, so it gets clearer what we want to say. This would be the beginning, and then somehow, with the masculine side of Bettina's suggestions, go ahead from there. My idea. It's a tempesta, how do you say, a thunderstorm here, so I hope we will stay.
I think it's a good idea to have interviews with each other. By the way, Tammy, we didn't finish our to have that interview and to listen to one another. I think listening is also listening for the good in you, or with a specific way of listening, not just opening the ears. And what we could include in something like that is a story that reveals that, like a power story of my life where that unraveled. So we have stories to tell. I mean, that's a very big part of the appreciative inquiry process, to say, when did you have it already? When was it at place already and played out? What I will share with you is I think it took a year of a process with an international group that I did, an appreciative inquiry process. And I will share with you how that unfolded and the what we called core themes, which is what do we want to do in the world, or what do we want to work on, or the intention, or whatever, and how that played out, and the future statements that came out of this. So that's, and what I think is good to have a document. I mean, Slack is more for messaging, but to work is, I don't know many other, but Google Drive is a very powerful tool for us to work simultaneously. So I could set up one for us as a file, and then have documents in that, and we can work each on where we can put the interviews and all this. So, and they have like Office, different ways to do things. So if you want to, I can set that up and invite you.
Wonderful.
With your, I don't know if you,
Thank you.
If you have a Google account, or if you want to do to have that. And then I need the email address with which you are in Google Drive, if you are there, or if you have a Google account of any time. So, yeah. And I would like to, just to sum up, I would like to add a sentence. Maybe I've said it already, but this came up over and over again during our conversation, especially like sharing our gifts, and what you shared, Tammy, with I did it and I'm complete, though I didn't get much response, because that was my calling. Here, the fire department, they have an showcase where they say what they do and things like that. And there was one big sign, we are one too few. So I think this, like,
But it glitched when you said what the sign said.
Without you, we are one too few.
Thank you. For me, I guess I'll just start with, I realize that I don't read very much anymore, and I find it really difficult to read a lot of documents. And so that's a barrier for me. So I'm just going to be really clear with what I'm discovering about myself right now. I think it's been over 5 years since I've read a book, for example. So I really love that that's the way that a lot of people take in information, but I have some limitations there that I just want to be clear on. And that's part of what I realized in this process, is that I can't read all of that. Like, there's so much grokking that's going on in my body as I'm reading it that I know I'm only getting a percentage of. So part of the reason why I advocate for us to be in presence as we're co-discovering together is because that's actually the process, for me, of human flocking, is being in presence together and feeling those edges as it's happening. So for me, when I heard, when Luna first told me, and again when she shared today, I didn't see it as separate interviews. I saw it as us coming together and sharing what we all bring to the table, what our passions are, and what the what the deeper context is from our perspectives as a practice of human flocking. So I would put that on the table in terms of not taking it into notes and writing it down and doing this whole process. We can record it and then take notes from there to look at that intersectionality. And it for me more holds this whole process of presencing and doing that sharing where we're really taking it in as it's happening. And it has a sense of building the plane while we're flying the plane. But I think that's where we're at for me. So I just wanted to really clearly say where I would see the greatest impact and development for the least amount of time on all of our parts in investing. Because in the presence process, for me, that's where all of the work comes together. And I recognize and want to honor, Bettina, your around a good process. And I think we can do that. I think that we can, and in fact, it really feels like some of that co-intentionalizing, and it holds all 5 of those pieces in the flocking, because it's visioning into the future, and I feel like it is embedded and woven into what has been suggested. So I'm still feeling that and just gonna say it out loud.
And then I think it's me who should talk. I completely get that, but I also feel that that's exactly what I said to Luna. It will create a lovely experience and we will feel full of energy and nothing will happen afterwards, because no one will sit and look at the video again and try to synergize. So unless a divine intervention happens and it suddenly is clear to us what the intention is, we will each, I project, we'll each sit with a nice feeling, but we won't have found a common intention. And maybe that's okay that it goes very slow, and maybe we will have to do it many times. I can just feel that a part of me dies a little bit because it's a very slow process. And I would like us to use both sides, both the intuitive and the sort of the more wordy masculine energy. And I feel that when they are working together, that is when we really can fly. So I can feel sort of okay, I have to do that in order to include you, but I'm also a little bit, I get a little bit impatient because I expect that it will, I can see where we're going, and it will be slow. But on the other hand, I also, so I was thinking maybe we should each record our own 5-minute video where we answer those 3 questions, and then come together, because then we have seen each other's, then there's some preparation at least. It doesn't have to be written, but I still think we need to find out how we can sort of then at least put time aside after each round to say, okay, what do we conclude? Because if we don't leave with conclusions, maybe they can come later, but we don't know. So I guess it's my years of being a process consultant where I feel that we need to balance the two. Yeah, but I know that time is running, so I'll stop now.
Yeah, thank you, Bettina. I think many things have been suggested and have been said, and it's very important. I sort of agree with Bettina in that case, and also with Tammy. And if you have noticed, almost all of the calls, I have done the timestamps where you can see what we have seen, what we have said, and you can easily go back to it. I didn't do it for all because it's quite a bit of time. So in that case, I would invite you, when you go into the video and see it again, and you find I have said this in minute something, and write it into the document, which Gertraud will create, so we can co-create the timestamps. And so everybody who finds this is important and what it was exactly we mark it, and so we ourselves can see it. And even when I post it then on the website or on the video, people can see it too, who don't want to watch all the time. I mean, nobody has time to sit the whole day in front of the videos, no, and see what people chat. So they want to see specific things normally, unless it is really totally interesting for them just now. And there might be people who exactly want to listen to that. So I think thank you everybody for having stayed all the time. And I think we came a bit ahead, and we will find a method to do that. And I will suggest, to pick up what Bettina said, let's everybody, let's say within a week or two maximum, create a video of what we want to say to these 5 questions. As far as I know, they are posted in the Slack, but you have also seen them and sent them with an email, as far as I remember. So maybe you can send it again around, Bettina.
No, I meant Luna's 3 questions. The
okay.
superpowers, what we are passionate about, and the biggest issues on the planet.
Okay. No, I thought what your points were.
Okay.
Okay, good. So let's do that. Okay, can we agree on that? That let's say within Sunday 10 or something, June, we have created a short video. You can put it public or non-public on YouTube, and then but let us know that it's there so we can watch it. And then we agree on another meeting, okay? So thank you for participating, and thank you people for viewing now or later. And if you're inspired, come into contact with us. Okay, bye-bye.